What would you do if your own neighbors started treating your private land like it was up for grabs? I knew trouble was brewing the second I spotted outsiders on my lakeshore, holding fancy pamphlets with pictures of my water splashed across them. Out here in Wyoming, where the land tells its own stories, deeds don't lie, but people sure do. And when the HOA president tried to barricade what I'd owned for decades, I kept my cool, watched from the shadows, and waited for her lies to unravel. The morning unfolded like any other on my ranch, quiet, with the sun easing over the pines and casting long shadows across the dirt path to the lake. Wyoming mornings have a rhythm, slow and deliberate, like the land itself isn't in a hurry to wake up. It lights the treetops first, then my weathered cabin, and finally the trail I've worn down over 25 years. I'd bought this place back in the late 90s, long before the Pine Ridge HOA sprouted up in the valley like weeds after rain. But that day, something felt wrong before I even cleared the trees. Call it instinct from years of living alone. The birds had hushed, and the wind carried a whisper that didn't belong. I slowed my steps, edging around the last cluster of lodgepole pines, and there it was, for people on my shore where no one had any business being. 3 were strangers, city types with polished shoes and eager postures. The 4th was someone I knew all too well. Susan Fletcher, president of the Pine Ridge HOA, her dark hair pulled back tight, wearing a blazer that screamed boardroom, not backcountry. She was passing out glossy brochures featuring my lake on the cover. They chatted easily, pointing at the water like they were appraising a condo development. One guy, tall with starched khakis, snapped photos on his phone. Another clutched a leather binder, jotting notes as Susan waved her hand toward the shoreline. This wasn't sightseeing, this was business. And it couldn't be, because that lake was mine, deeded, surveyed, outright owned. I stayed hidden in the tree lean, heart pounding but feet planted. From there, I could make out the photo on the brochure. Morning light on the water, a shot I'd taken myself a decade ago. How had they gotten it? Why did they have it? One thing was crystal clear, they had no right. The breeze off the lake brought the chill of spring melt and pine sap, a smell that usually meant peace. Today, it carried violation, settling like lead in my chest. Susan laughed at something the woman with the binder said, then sketched an imaginary dock with her pen. My dock, my land. I could have stormed out, demanded they leave, reminded Susan that the HOA's reach stopped half a mile uphill. But I didn't. Not yet. This felt too calculated to rush. I crouched lower, bark rough against my palm, and observed. The brochures gleamed as she distributed them. The khaki man pointed to my prime fishing spot. The binder woman scribbled furiously. They weren't admiring. They were valuing, plotting. A numb disbelief crept in, the kind that sharpens into rage. No one had asked. No knock, no letter, no courtesy. My lake predated the HOA. Susan knew that from 3 years back, when she tried finding me for shoreline neglect. I'd shown her the deed, and she'd slunk away. Since then, she'd ignored me at meetings, nitpicking mailboxes and lawns instead. But this was bold, dangerous. Susan's gaze skimmed the trees toward me, but she saw nothing. She kept her polished smile, shaking hands like a deal was sealed. They headed back up the path, voices fading into the wind. The lake shimmered peacefully, or it should have. Today it warn't. I lingered after they left, questions pounding. Why sell what wasn't hers? It pointed to greed, entitlement, the kind that erodes communities from within. I retreated quietly, boots silent on needles. Confrontation could wait. First, I'd uncover how far she'd go, and I couldn't if she knew I was onto her. The hike back stretched longer, thoughts churning. That lake was my sanctuary, where worries dissolved. Now it felt tainted. What did Susan think she owned? Inside the cabin, sunlight filtered through dusty panes. My place isn't fancy. A sturdy A-frame I built with a buddy's help in the 90s. Solid beams, stone hearth, built to last. I bypassed the half-drunk coffee and headed to the closet safe, bolted firm. Fingers on the dial, I recalled my dad's words. Paperwork outlasts everything in the West. The safe clicked open, revealing folders and a binder labeled Harlan Ranch and Clearwater Lake. I spread it on the kitchen table, dust motes dancing in the light. Top sheet, the 1999 warranty deed, county seal embossed. Grantee, Jack Harlan. 18.6 acres, including all water features. No ambiguities. The survey map followed, unfolded wide with boundary lines in red, the lake shaded blue inside them. Dan Whitaker, the old surveyor, had walked it with me in crisp fall air. He'd tapped a stake. Your line, Jack. HOA stops up there. Sovereign territory. Sovereign, that word echoed. The documents screamed clarity, but Susan's confidence not. If the law was ironclad, what fueled her? Wind creaked the walls. I stared toward the hidden lake. This wasn't ignorance. Brochures cost money, planning. What next? I secured the binder back in the safe. Proof was key. Undeniable, untwistable. I'd dig into her motives, stay silent, watch. Because deeds don't lie, but people do. Next morning dawned frosty, grass sparkling blue. Coffee in hand on the porch, I sensed intrusion down the hill. Land feels different under threat. Jacket on, I descended the path, branches arching like a tunnel. Voices drifted, clipped, businesslike. Jaw tight, I peered through. A new metal gate barred the access road. Posts sunk in fresh concrete. Sign glaring. HOA managed property. No unauthorized access. Susan stood nearby with a clipboard and a young volunteer, tightening bolts. I stepped out, gravel crunching. She froze, then flashed her meeting smile. Morning, Jack. Just installing infrastructure. Infrastructure? Yes, she chirped. Community voted for better natural feature management. Your lake ties into the valley ecosystem. It's on my land, I said evenly. Every inch deeded to me. You know that. She waved it off. Water's complicated, shared rights, easements. Fingers clenched at my sides. Nothing complicated. Deeds clear. Her smile thinned. HOA sees it differently. The gate was heavy-duty, permanent. This was premeditated. How long planning this? She dodged. Months of updates. Check your email for the notice. Email? Not permission. She patronized. We think of everyone, not just one lakeside resident. On the lake, I corrected. Gray area, she repeated. Wind rattled the sign, metallic and intrusive. I backed off, not arguing. Fees mentioned, dues for maintenance. She believed her authority, or was desperate. Silence stretched. I nodded, turned away. She'd revealed her hand. Time to document. Back at the cabin, wind dusted the porch. I grabbed a trail camera from the drawer, weatherproof, motion-triggered. Bought for litter bugs, now perfect. Down the path, I mounted it high in an oak, angled at the shore and gate. Latch clicked decisive. Lake rippled peaceful, but tension brewed. At the edge, fresh boot prints, not mine. Near the post, a buried brochure. I dug it out. My lake's photo, lake access opportunity. Co-managed. Inside, leases, docks, paths, unapproved. Back, management by Meadow Lake Properties LLC. Subsidiary of Pine Ridge HOA. Breath caught. Not just overreach, a scheme for profit. I photographed tracks, scraps, perimeters. Evidence building. At the cabin, brochure smoothed on table, accusations glaring. HOA turning private water into cash cow. I let her dig deeper. Afternoon clouds loomed, pressure building. Brochure mocked from the table. I called Emily Carter, land attorney sharp as Wyoming winter. Jack? Everything okay? Not quite. HOA's selling my lake. Silence, then sell? Bring what you've got. Drive down gravel, thoughts racing. Emily's office, small, practical. She scanned brochure, hardened. This your lake? Yes. LLC footer froze her. Beyond unethical, dangerous. Deed next. You own it outright. No gray. Gate photo. Trespass. Survey. Airtight. She's creating implied authority, Emily said. Act first. Confuse later. How bad? Could be fraud. Word hung heavy. Gather evidence. Don't confront. We'll go to sheriff. Tom Barrett. Old friend. No nonsense. Powder keg. She warned. Words echoed homeward. Twilight graying the valley. Flashlight in hand, I checked property. Metallic rattle, new padlock on gate. Concrete damp, recent. Footprints, tracks, a crumpled notice. Non-compliance to Jack Harlan. Violation, obstructing community access. Fee, for $150. They flipped it, me the violator. Anger cold, focused. Photos snapped, lock, sign, tracks. Lake whispered unbothered. Hand on metal. Not yours. Silence my weapon. Fog next morning, instincts sharp. Table buried in docs. Emily's packet. LLC formed 7 months ago, post-bylaw changes. Names: Elena Fletcher, agent. Susan, manager. Derek Fletcher, officer. Family racket. Deposits: $15,000, $7,500. Matching tours. Worse than thought. Emily called. Development proposal on your parcel. Stomach dropped. Photos from my drives. Need footage. Engine hummed. Susan at gate. Unlocking for new stranger. Sparks flying. Fog lifted by mid-morning, sun piercing. Footage. Susan at 8:43 p.m. SUV, surveyors measuring. Preparation. Called Tom. Sideways. Need you here. 20 minutes. His truck rumbled up. Big man, steady. What the hell? At gate. Poured yesterday. Footage watched. Trespass. Fraud. She's pushed zoning. Cut it. No, let her twist. Lake defiant. This breaks trust. Criminal. Give me everything. Meeting that evening. Buzzing. I'd show all. Hours organizing. Deed. Survey. Brochure. Footage. LLC. Deposits. Emily arrived. Bury this. Lot packed. Room humming. Susan front. Composed. Until me. Crack in facade. Formalities dragged. Tension built. Item 7. Expansion. Murmurs. I stood. Not your lake. Room shifted. Deed high. 1999, all mine. Survey unfolded. Brochure. Selling leases. $25K deposit. Gasps. LLC. Family company. Footage played. Silence. Then fraud. Room erupted. Questions. Anger. Betrayal. Vote. Susan out. Authority shattered. Meeting dissolved. Stunned faces. Outside, cold stars. Emily. Truth wins. Tom. Community's yours. County next day. Investigators photographed. Confirmed. To DA. Arrest 5 days later. LLC dissolved. Refunds. Bylaws rewritten. Gate removed professionally. Night at lake. Moon-streaked water. Peace restored. Landmine to protect. By truth. If you've ever faced injustice like this, where power tries to steal what's yours, share in the comments. Especially on themes of abuse of authority and unfairness in everyday life. Do you think violence is ever justified against such wrongs? Or is the law enough? Take a stand. I'd love to hear your views.